Welcome, Madan. Thanks for joining.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me here.
Let me just start the session and let me inform all our audience that we are here joined by Madan Padaki. He is advisor to Yuva and also advisor to UNICEF, and also he has been the co-founder of Meritrack, one of the leading companies who are working in the education sector, and he was also associated with the Manipal Education Group as an advisor earlier, and he is a man who is now leading a big movement for mass entrepreneurship globally. So it's a pleasure to have Madan here, and also in the context of education, I think the whole debate, there's a lot of debate and discussion happening around rural employment, rural jobs, and rural education. So, Madan is a person who has worked extensively in these areas. So, Madan, over to you. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you so much, Ravi, for having me share my thoughts here at this wonderful forum. And congratulations on the 17th edition. It's not easy to do something for such a long time, and I really salute your persistence and
Thank you.
perseverance in making sure that you're bringing the ecosystem together.
Thank you.
Over the next 10, 15 minutes, I want to share some learnings and some thoughts of mine, especially having worked with young people across the country. And given that this is an education summit, I want to kind of focus on what do we really do to unleash the potential of young people in the country. And I want to share some of my learnings with all of you, and love to have some time at the end for comments, questions, ideas, and thoughts. Let me share my screen and see whether I can bring it up. Yes, I hope you're able to see my screen now.
Yes.
Yes. So I want to start with a story of something that changed my life. About 10 years ago, where I was still running Meritrack as India's first and one of now India's largest skills assessments entity, I was approached by a bunch of people who wanted to set up a rural BPO. And we went in and said, what will it take for us to train rural youth to become BPO workers? And I was like, quite skeptical of the whole thing, because I was thinking, listen, it's hard to find youth in Bangalore or a Mumbai or a Delhi to work in BPOs. What will it take for us to go and find and locate a guy in rural India and have him ready to speak in English and do transactions on the computer and meet SLAs and stuff like that? That skepticism, we turned it into an advantage and said, why don't we then try to do this at the extreme? So we said, what if we took the most unemployable person on the face of this earth, and is it possible to transform such an individual to become an English speaking, computer literate, knowledge professional? We went around the villages of Karnataka, found lots of people who meet the extreme of unemployability. We said, never been to school, never held a pencil in their lives, has no skills, works as a cowherd. We even went to the extent of saying, if this person has seen a train, then the person is not that remote or not disadvantaged, and maybe we need to look elsewhere. So we went around several villages in several districts, and actually found, to our surprise, a lot of young people, 18 years and above, who fit this bill. One of them is this person called Ramesh. Not sure whether you can hear the audio.
No, actually, no. Yeah. No, no. Madan, you are on the mute actually. Madan, you have gone on mute now. Please unmute. Madan, you are still on mute, please. Ah,
Okay, so surprisingly, as soon as I started sharing my screen, let me just check if this works.
okay. Just try it again if it works.
Yeah, let me just try. Okay, let me try and share my okay, I got it. It's asking me, just give me a second, so that I can just switch off the windows and then see if I can get to the PowerPoint. Okay. Yes, I hope it works. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, yes. You are audible, Madan, but your screen is not yet visible. Your PPT screen,
Okay.
we can't see the screen.
You can't see the screen. Okay. Are you able to see the screen now?
No, we can listen to audio. Yes, now I think yes.
You can see the screen. Okay. And you
Yes,
can listen to audio as well.
yes, 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 yes.
Excellent. Excellent. So this is a person called Ramesh, who lives in Kotiguda in Raichur, a remote village about 60 kilometers from Raichur town. Let this get over for a few seconds. Yes. So Ramesh has never ever been to school, never held a pencil in his life, works as a cowherd, earns about 8 to 10 rupees a day on good days, and the entire family of 10 siblings and two parents live on an unarable 3-acre land. Together, the family was earning about 3,000 rupees. So this is the first day of our interaction with Ramesh. It took us a couple of hours to get him in front of the camera and start talking. So we got about 8 youth like Ramesh from various parts of Karnataka. We brought them to Bangalore, and we actually hired a BPO trainer and said, "Now let us teach you English." The BPO trainer vanishes during day one. He refuses to come back. He says, "Are you nuts? How can I train people like this?" So my partners actually started living with these people, young people in their house, and started creating a complete curriculum on the fly on how do you really unlock the confidence in them. I was traveling extensively during this period, but when I came back and met the same Ramesh after 7 months, my life changed because this is the Ramesh I saw. I'm Ramesh from Raichur. When I was in my village, I did not know how to write even my name in Kannada. In my village, I always wore dhoti. I never traveled on the bus. I did not know what's the time and what's the watch. I knew only two things: go to farm or sunrise, came back home or sunset. I had never visited a city. I did not know about city life. When I first came to Bangalore, I could not speak to anyone, and I also scared to touch a computer. When I started to learn in English, I was so scared because I did not know how to write ABCD. After the 7 months, I can type minimum at 40 words per minute. A month ago, I went to my village for my brother's wedding. My mother told me, "Please sir, come and have a seat." She did not recognize me. She asked, "Who are you?" I told her, "I am Ramesh, your son," as she didn't believe. Then I showed my ID card on which earlier photo was there. She looked at the photo for a while and asked, and after every moment she cried with the tears of happiness. I never can forget that experience. Thank you. So you can imagine why I was so shocked because coming from an assessment world, I thought it's all black and white. There are some people who are employable, the others are not. But this proved to us that by giving an opportunity platform and by filling them with confidence that you can do it, every one of those 8 people transformed like this. And I call it transformation because it's not just training. Training is reversible, transformation is irreversible. In fact, a few years later, we won the CNN IBM Real Heroes Award for this project. And you should see Ramesh 4 years later, as a team leader for a large BPO, going on to receive this award.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. 4 years ago, I had never thought of getting out of my village. Today, I am on national TV. I'm very happy to be here with all of you. 4 years ago, I didn't know how to write my name in any language. Today, I'm working in a BPO company as a team leader. My dream is to give an opportunity to all the villagers like me.
Ramesh actually went on to become the team leader for the BPO. Subsequently, he said, listen, I'm not doing justice to what I've learned. So he's gone back and he's one of the most sought after motivational speakers in North Karnataka, where he goes and addresses school students, college students saying, hey, if I as a cowherd can become like this, imagine the potential that you would have, right? And it also gave birth to a foundation that we run now called Head and High Foundation, where we work in about 19 states, in about 100 odd rural clusters. We've transformed about 15,000 youth like Ramesh from the most marginalized communities, below poverty line families, about 60% of them being girls. And we've seen that in all the cases, the kind of confidence they go back with, just because somebody were there to say, listen, you start believing in yourself, and we show it happen. That has seen the transformation that I've seen. The second part of the transformation that I want to talk about is that several of the young people, because they want to stay close to their families in the villages, have actually given up jobs that we find for them in the metros and said, listen, I can't stay in the metros. I want to be closer to home, and therefore I want to be an entrepreneur. We've had a lot of examples of young people going back to their villages and setting up shops.
I joined in 2009 at a training center to learn speaking English and to learn.
This is one of our youth who went back to his village, set up a grocery store, built it up. 2 years later, he decided that he wants to bring his cousin brothers and a couple of his friends into the shop. They expanded the shop, and he went on to subsequently contest the Zilla Panchayat elections, and he won. And he's now transforming youth in his Zilla Panchayat on the same philosophy that there is unlimited potential in each one of you. We've seen several other entrepreneurial stories like this. This is a story of Abhishek, who runs a tea stall, working with another rural enterprise that I run called OneBridge. He started offering digital services to his consumers and started helping them to buy two-wheelers, four-wheelers, health insurance, so on and so forth. In fact, he came out with an idea that why can't we have a mall in our village, and actually egged us to create a virtual reality mall that he shows to consumers and explains the technology world to them in much better ways than we can. And he was also instrumental in onboarding about 30 odd women around his community to become local digital entrepreneurs, right? So the second aspect that I want to share with you is that not just youth transformation, but there is a massive entrepreneurial energy that exists in each of our youth. And I believe that unless and until we can create a lot more entrepreneurs, there are not enough jobs to go around. India will add about 150 million to its workforce over the next 10-15 years. Less than 10% are formalized jobs today, and will continue to be so. So unless and until we can create an army of entrepreneurs like Abhishek or Baswaraj, who can go out and create 10 other jobs, I don't think we have an end for the jobs crisis in the country. The last part I want to talk about is that in each of these youth, let me just play the video in a second, but in each of these youth, I've seen an insatiable hunger, not just to fend for their own economic opportunities, but to say, how can I benefit my village? This is a story of Pasha, and I'll play it for a minute or so for you to just get a flavor of what he's about.
10 ವರ್ಷ ಆಗಿತ್ತು. ಆಗ ಪೋಲಿಯೋ ಕಾಯಿಲೆ ಬಂತು, ಕೈಕಾಲಲ್ಲಿ ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಯ್ತು. ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ನಾನು ಬೈ ಬರ್ತ್ ಬ್ಲೈಂಡ್, ನಾನು ದೃಷ್ಟಿ ಕಲಿತಾ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನನಗೆ ಮೊದಲು ಯಾರು ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ. ಆ ನೋವನ್ನ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಈಗ ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರಿಗೆ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾನು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋಂಥದ್ದು. ಭಾಷಾ ನಾನು 22 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಈ ಸಮಾಜ ಕಾರ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು
Not only did Pasha battle his own blindness and his own limitations, but he said, I don't want my other brothers and sisters to suffer with the same issues that I did. And he opened an NGO that provides hostel facilities and education facilities for other people with disabilities. And I've worked with them over the last several years. And the passion with which he works and his team works is unbelievable. So we've also used that example to convene every year or so at Sabarmati Ashram, right in front of Gandhiji's ashram. We bring young people from all across the country to talk about what kind of change do they wish to see in the world, and how can they be the change that drives the world around them. So I believe that there is not just an entrepreneur, but there's a change maker lurking in each one of us. Each one of us want to do good to the people around us and to make sure that we are counted as contributors to the society around us. In fact, this was the thought that triggered us to be a part of UNICEF. We've launched a fascinating platform called Yuva. It is all about how do we bring the entire ecosystem together to unleash the potential of young people, incubated by Yuva. We have got phenomenal ambition. How do you create pathways for 300 million youth over the next 10 years to become change makers? How do you facilitate 200 million young people to gain 21st century skills and be relevant to the future of work? And how do you build pathways for 100 million young people for aspirational economic opportunities? We launched last year. We have phenomenal partnerships now going. We work with the Ministry of Youth Affairs, the Punjab government. We're working with various other state governments, and we want to work with every educator out there to figure out how do we make sure that every empowered youth every young person believes in the true potential of himself or herself. How do we make sure that every empowered youth is an entrepreneur? And how do we make sure that every entrepreneur is a social change maker? And I would invite each and every one of you to imagine such a world. Can we imagine an education system that produces not just people who score well in their exams, but can produce young people who are completely fully confident of themselves, who are thinking entrepreneurially, who are saying, listen, I know what it is to create economic opportunities for myself and stand on my own 2 feet without having to rely on somebody else to give me a job? And can we make sure, what can the education system do to bring in the entire societal angle? And can our young people look at what contributions can I make to the communities around me, eventually making the world a better place for all of us to live in? These are the experiences I wanted to share with you. Some reflections of the work we do at Herald High, at Global Alliance for Mass Entrepreneurship, at Yuva, UNICEF, and of course the rural enterprise that I run called OneBridge. Happy to seek your comments, thoughts, and happy to partner with you in any which way that can make this movement go live and bring the power of young people to the fore.
Sure. Madan, thanks for an amazing presentation. I think this stories you showed up, especially the story of Ramesh, was such an enlightening story, actually, almost unbelievable. So let me just ask you that how, since this is a World Education Summit, and we have a lot of rural schools also who have joined us as an audience here, their directors and founders of these schools who are working in the rural areas, and also the teachers who are here, schools and colleges also from the higher education. There are a lot of colleges who are in the remote parts of India, who are in the located in the rural areas. So how do you think that schools and the higher education can collaborate with a organization like yours, and how they can become the part of the larger agenda of creating rural employment and livelihoods? So if you can throw some light upon that.
Absolutely, Ravi. Thank you for this question. I think the following, especially at the school level, I think one of the things I've realized at school level is the lack of local role models, right? How do you how do you share stories of Rameshes of the world? I'm sure if you look around in every rural setting, there'll be somebody from that village uh, uh, who has broken the mold, who has made it big, right? But we don't celebrate those stories. We don't share their stories, right? So what can we do at school levels to be able to bring role models into the schools and to say, listen, if this person who came from a similar background like you did can become like this, why can't you? Second, how do we, one of the learnings that we've had in our entire program is students learn from each other. The power of peer learning is actually not harnessed in the right way. So how do you create a learning environment in the classrooms where the kids are able to learn from one another, build on one another ideas? One of the things that we did in Hendel High was that all of the young people had to take tests in batches. So if 8 of them were in a group and one of them didn't clear, let's say, an spoken English assessment, the 7 didn't clear that. So everyone was making sure that, oh, I'm weak in maths, I learn maths from somebody. I'm weak in English, I'm strong in English, I'll teach English to somebody else. So how do you create a peer learning network within your classrooms, and how do you configure classrooms that way? And third, how do you build entrepreneurial mindsets and skills in young people? Example of Delhi government. I'm sure some of you might be aware that Delhi government launched one of the largest entrepreneurial mindsets and skills curriculum in the country, probably in the world, where today 1 million kids in government schools of 1,000 government schools in Delhi take an entrepreneurial mindsets learning by doing curriculum as the first period in their classroom. Now, this curriculum is available online. Can you start implementing it in your classrooms? And we are very happy to facilitate that. And lastly, how do you leverage your young people in your classrooms to be social change makers? We work with another NGO called Reap Benefit that helps young people to go out and find out small problems in their areas, right? Somebody has a bad sewage in their road. Somebody's electricity consumption in school is very high. How do I fix it? So my simple reflection and suggestion is that there are a lot of things happening in the world around us. If you can start connecting to people and saying, hey, this is our intention, we want to do this, I'm sure there's enough and more of helping hands and resources out there, right? And lastly, to our higher education institutions, I would say, of course, placements are important, working with corporates, but figure out what can we do to create more entrepreneurs in the colleges. Can you set up incubation centers? Can you get in mentors? Can you partner with local entrepreneurs? Can you partner with local banks to seed fund some of our young entrepreneurs to start off small businesses? It could be a grocery store. It need not be always artificial intelligence or blockchain driven technology solutions. It can be small local businesses. I think the possibilities are immense, and very happy to work with you, Ravi, to bring this ecosystem together to help make several of these dreams come true.
Sure. Thank you, Madan. And the last question which I am going to ask you, that which is a bit of a different question. Like, you have been the uh, original ed tech entrepreneur, and ed the tech is now the hottest.
The in thing.
The in thing going on. So, how do you see the evolution of edtech over the last decade, and how do you see the next decade on this? A lot of edtech companies are also attending this event, so it may be helpful for them.
Yeah. So, first of all, I believe that in EdTech, the ED has to be in font number 24 and tech has to be in font number 8. Sometimes it's the other way around. Tech is in big font and education takes the backseat, right? Because if technology can't solve the problem of education, and I believe the best definition I've heard of education was that education is nothing but an inspired teacher, a motivated learner, and a tree, right? And the tree is a metaphor for all the technology tools that we can bring. Finally, the tools, technology, all have to either inspire the teacher to teach better or have to motivate the learner to learn better, right? So I think if all of us as EdTech entrepreneurs can keep this metaphor in mind and continuously start working towards how do I motivate the learner to learn better, or how do I inspire the teacher to teach better? And the teacher can be a facilitator, whatever model. And we look at technology as an enabler to that process. I think many times we fall in love with our own technology and forget education. And to me, that has been the bane of the space. That we believe technology is answer to everything. It is not, and it is going to get technology is going to get far more integrated into our fabric. In the next few years, if you see 5G rollouts, IoT in connected devices, etc., the possibilities in technology are immense. And my fear is that we will then start forgetting education even more. So how do we keep our eyes completely on the outcomes that we need to get our learners and our young people to realize their infinite potential? And how do we harness the technology that is there for that purpose? I think if you frame it that way, then I think that's an easier way to look at it.
Perfect. Great, Madan. And but I'm like tempted to ask another last question to you.
Sure.
That as you mentioned about EdTech, I'm going to ask you about the like as you have mentioned about the digital divide, which is a big issue, and you
Yeah.
are working in the rural areas in a big way. So right now the rural schools are facing a huge
Correct.
crisis. Schools are closed, and the teachers are like trying to teach online, but rural people don't have the connectivity or the devices. So how do you see that organizations like yours and others are going to help in the solving or the addressing this issue? Because this has been asked by several people over the
Correct.
whole day today, that
Exactly.
people are asking this. Yeah.
No, that's a very, very valid point, Ravi. In fact, a few days ago, we released a report with UNICEF, UA, and Ministry of Youth Affairs with PwC on the state of digital learning. And in the report, we realized that there is still a very large disconnected world out there, where life actually exists beyond the smartphone screen, right? So, how do we bring those learners into this whole revolution? In fact, for the EdTech community in Bangalore, with TIE Bangalore, I also lead the education vertical at TIE Bangalore. We actually launched a learning challenge called the TIE Learning Challenge, which challenged entrepreneurs to think of learning models beyond smartphones. And we were amazed with what we saw. There were startups that were doing learning on feature phones. You could dial an IVR and a variety of interactions on IVR. There were solutions that are coming out on DTH, on direct-to-home televisions, right? How do you use the television network to be able to take digital learning to people? How do you use shared screens? So can there be one screen for 30 kids? And can you then start creating what kind of learning models can work there? So I also believe that as entrepreneurs, we need to work largely and even more stronger for these problem statements, right? How do you bring in the access of digital learning to those guys who don't have access to phones and computer screens? And I think that's a huge area to solve for. And from a market standpoint, the market for that is far larger than people who are trying to learn via smartphones, right? So I think that's another thrust area. A lot of work needs to be done, but glad to share that I can see hope and a lot of optimism there, because there are people devoting time and energy to solve for this problem.
Fantastic. So with this, we will close the session, and thank you so much, Madan, for joining us. We are honored to have you here. Great pleasure to see you, and you have like inspired all of us by the stories you have shared today.
Thank you so much, Ravi, and thanks everybody for listening in, and all the best. Look forward to working with all of you. Bye.
Thank you, Namaskar. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Oh.
Okay.
So, Madan, like this is the speaker certificate we wanted to give you virtually. Sorry, I missed
you.
announcing.
Thank
So,
you so much.
a small token of appreciation from our side, and thank you so much again. Thank you.
Thank you very
Namaskar.
much.
Bye.
Namaskar. Bye.